your time on the group quiz. So here's what's happening with the meme. The work you're going to be doing, which starts this Wednesday for both cohorts, builds on the work that you did right before break, where you brainstormed some ideas. Now, right at the outset, I want to emphasize, do not overthink this. Getting a 3 on this is perfectly fine and can be done without your head exploding. It really can. All right? Remember, your goal is to have a meme that reflects on some aspect of the novel and shows one understanding of the book along with a logical fallacy and a mode of persuasion. All right? Now, I've given you examples of these, right? Like this one here, which this was an original image that I created because I wanted to, make one from scratch. And then below it, there's a paragraph analyzing it, right? So that's the whole thing. Now, your focus this week is on getting the image done. So I'm going to put out a couple of pointers here on the whole thing, and then we'll get into the step-by-step on how you're going to do it. All right? Remember, you don't need to have some brilliant original idea for this. You can take a already created meme and adjust it to what you're trying to say. And what do I mean by an already created one? What I mean is if you look back at the document I had you read at the start of this thing here, there were some examples, right? Be like Bill, right? Where you could turn that into a be like Montag, don't be like Montag, whatever, and still catch the core idea that you're trying to connect with. You would have to come up with a logical fallacy that you could work into it, but it's more than doable, all right? Any one of these things can be adapted into a meme for your use. And you can get a 3 on that if it's accurate, all right? If it reflects something in the book and you explain it, you're there. So you don't have to come up with this great creative thing. And there's a ton of newer memes than these that are out there that we've all seen that you might have an idea about that you could adapt, okay? So keep that in mind. It doesn't need to be this stunningly original thing. And you can have a meme that covers the basics, is in the 3 range, and still do a write-up that's up at the 4 level, right? By having the depth in there. And that writing piece is more important than the image piece. So don't get too hung up on it, all right? So that's a little bit about it. And now I'm going to walk you through some of the materials that you're going to be using. So I'm going to go back over to Google Classroom here. And right now I'm in that planning assignment. Now, per usual, I've linked all the required or potentially useful materials right here in here. So the documents we've done that give you information on the 3 modes of persuasion, ethos, pathos, and logos. The common fallacies document, those are all here. And then there's a more extensive list over here. All right, so those are materials you can use to get some ideas. And I've also got in here some sites that create memes for you. And all it is image with text. So if there's some design software you like to use, an app on your iPad, anything where you can do a picture and text is fine, all right? There's no set one that you have to use. Whatever you create, you just need to be able to convert it into a picture file, like a JPEG, so that you can put it into the Google Doc where you're going to submit it, all right? But you can use whatever software you want to create that image and the text. And these few here are ones that you may or may not want to use. That's entirely up to you. I just wanted to give you a few that were a possibility if you didn't have a go-to, design app that you like. All right. So now into the planner itself. So this is the thing I previewed today. And the first part, the brainstorm, is familiar. It's what you worked on before break when you were with a few other students and you shared ideas and created a list. Part 2 on that was this section. If you got part 2 done before break, cool. All you're going to do is look through it and choose your strongest one, the one that you want to now turn into your meme, and fill it out here. And I give you an example of what we're looking for. All right. So over here, you indicate which type of meme it's going to be. Is it a citizen criticizing the government? Is it the government telling people what to do? Classic propaganda. Or option 3, is it a warning to us in our world about some behavior we should be careful about? And really that third one applies mostly to Fahrenheit. I'd steer away from that if you're doing The Giver, because that's a pretty challenging one that, when I go through and thought of ideas for everything, that was the one I had the hardest time with. It's really meant more for Fahrenheit. And honestly, the one that I find the most straightforward for both books is a warning from the government to the people. Right? Because you can pretty creatively come up with some threats, some warnings. Don't be like Montag, that sort of thing that you can do with these. But, so you put down the main message you're aiming for, whose perspective it's going to be written from, and who it's aimed at. And then why is it important? Ideally, you got a couple page references here, because this is then what you'll expand into this section. Again, what is your meme about? Right? My meme is warning citizens that they should not be reading books. My meme is telling people to get away from the television and get to know one another. My meme is telling someone to make sure they take their pills and report their stirrings. Or to not believe the government, that release isn't what it seems, whatever. So you have what it's about. And then what's the goal? And the basic format for this is my meme is telling these people, the citizens, the government, etc., that they should or should not do or think whatever. Right? Basic statement. And then the critical part for this, and this is what you're doing on Wednesday, is okay, so why is that important in the book? So you can give a basic description here. Well, it's shown to be important in the book because when Jonas throws around an apple, he gets in trouble for taking it from the area, and the speakers said that snacks are to be eaten, not hoarded. So clearly that's an important issue. They don't want people to run out of food or whatever. Then down here, you give evidence. Couple of quotes that show that this thing plays a role in the book. Now, the bare minimum is to show, yes, this happens in the book. Yep, this is a real issue, and it affects the character in some way. All right? So you relay that in there. If you're trying to get above a 3, as you see in the examples, then you need a more in-depth literary analysis. You need to connect it into character change, that it motivates the character in some way, that it causes the character to realize something, that it plays a role in exposing a major theme in the book. It illustrates the dangers of society being that way, whatever. That's the stuff that moves it from the base of a 2.5 to 3 to that 3.5 to 4. All right? It's not needed to do all right on this. Doing a 3 does not take that deeper analysis. But if you're looking to go beyond the 3, you need to have some evidence here that shows that whatever it is you're reflecting in your meme, that issue in the book is important. All right? And you can look at the 2 examples to see what I'm talking about there. All right? So the reason I'm having you do this section before you design the meme is when I first started giving this assessment, there were a bunch of people who ran with meme ideas, things they wanted to do, and they would totally forget about connecting it back to the book. They'd come up with some cute thing, and they'd miss the boat. So because our class is focused on writing and literature, I thought it was more important that you start by saying, okay, here's where it is in the book and why it's important. That'll get you through Wednesday. Then on Thursday, you're moving into the design phase. This is where you're going to flesh out exactly what you're doing. Point of view is telling this person to do whatever, right? Just like up above. But now you've got to think through, are you using ethos, pathos, or logos? And what logical fallacy are you using? Now, word to the wise, do not have those two overlap too much, all right? Like, don't tell me it's pathos and the logical fallacy is some sort of appeal to emotion, because then you're just crossing over. It's repetitive. What I recommend for the logical fallacy, if you're having trouble coming up with one, is with your goal in mind, go back to my basic common fallacies sheet, this thing, where I go through all the basic ones and then the more advanced ones, and think through. Look at the examples here and see if there's an example that you can then adapt to fit the book. All right? That might help spur an idea for how to get a logical fallacy into your piece. All right? And if you're really stuck, come to one of my help sessions and I will help you brainstorm. But the idea here is for you to come up with some flawed argument that can convince someone, a straw man fallacy, a slippery slope, whatever. And within that, use ethos, pathos, or logos. And there are easy ways of incorporating that, right? If you've got a logical fallacy over here, but you have a famous person be the one that's saying it, now you're over here as well, right? Or you inject some emotion into it, now you're over here as well, etc. So you're going to map out what sort of logical fallacy you're planning on using and which method you're using. And down here I say describe the image and the text. Another option is if you want to go to right to designing it and put a picture of it there, that's cool too. But otherwise you can give a description and what words you're going to include. The key is I should be able to read this and see you know what you're talking about. So if you give me some explanation here about how you're using the logical fallacy and how you're using ethos, pathos, or logos, so I can follow your logic, I'll be able to give you some feedback. And if you get this filled out by Thursday night, and not Thursday night at midnight, please, I won't look at it at midnight. The sooner you get it in, the sooner you'll get feedback. Then Friday, when you design your image, you'll know if you're on the right track, right? Because come Friday, what you're going to be doing is taking this plan and turning it into a picture with the words on it. You're making your meme, and once you've got it saved as an image, what you're going to do is you're going to put that into your submission document. And I'll show you where that is. So I'm back over here in Google Classroom. And down here where it says Final Submission, each of you has your own copy of the submission document, your work. All right? And here's what it looks like. You fill out the top just like in the demos. And don't worry about the writing goal just yet. I got a typo there, my bad. But right here it says insert image here. You're just going to paste your image in. And then you're going to be writing your paragraphs, paragraph or paragraphs below that. But that's what we'll do next week. All right, you're not worried about the paragraphs this week. If you've got some evidence you found on Thursday and you get your image together on Friday, you'll be in excellent shape to do a paragraph write-up next week. And that's what we will dedicate the start of the next cycle to. Your in-class days will be focused on writing those paragraphs. All right, so I know this was a bit lengthy, about 15 minutes, but I hope some of this was helpful. And if you have questions, post them in Schoology. Bring them up in class. And by all means, we have a help session every day this week, right? So every day from 11:30 to 12, you can pop in with questions. And on Wednesday, we have that full support block while you're all doing your asynchronous work on the first stage of this meme development. All right. So good luck with this. Do not let it overwhelm you. All right. If your head is spinning with it, stick to the basics. All right. And come to a help session and we can talk through some ideas based on whatever brainstorming you did before break. All right. So good luck and stay healthy, and I will talk to you soon.